You're listening to No Early GGs.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to episode 67 of the No Early GG's FPL Draft Podcast. I'm once again joined by my good friend Noah as we look forward to the next two game weeks coming up, as there are games next Tuesday and Wednesday and maybe Thursday, I believe. But there will be two game weeks that we will be covering this episode, and then we will hop into a midweek episode next week to talk about the games next weekend. So, how are you doing, Noah? Are you excited for this?
Yeah, come on, Cam. I think you should sound a little bit more excited. There's too much soccer for us to handle the
It,
next
yeah, you couldn't
few
hear the
days.
excitement in my voice.
Oh man, it's no, it's good. A lot of Champions League we were able to watch this week and don't get much of a break going into the weekend, which is always great. And then the quick turnaround. So game week 15 will be here before anyone realizes.
Yeah.
Hopefully the teams in our league won't realize that either.
Yeah, here's where you really need to lock in and focus and watch team sheets to see who might get rotated. I feel like this is a lot of the time when some separation or unseparation happens in leagues when people aren't following as much when there are games like every day.
So what Cam is saying is everyone definitely could benefit from listening to this episode.
Yeah.
So tell your friends.
And the ones around the Christmas period, I would say. All right. We'll start with a review of how our teams did. Noah, did you want to kick it off?
Oh, gladly. So game week 13 was a pretty successful one, I think, for both of us. But I will start off just highlighting my top scorers. Onana got me 9 points, 6 saves, a bonus, and a clean sheet. So that
Ooh.
was great to see. Probably the last time he'll be doing that for at least a few weeks after it happened today. Then Lascelles scored a goal, which was awesome. Gabriel had a clean sheet for Arsenal. Gibbs White had a goal and an assist and 2 bonus points. And Rashford scored the penalty and he got a clean sheet, which was nice. And the one thing that I actually, this is pretty funny. I feel like a lot of people enjoy this. How much I talk about the forward situation and everything. For some reason, I went against my one rule. You never bench a player who looks to be injured, but you don't actually know. So I had Isak on my bench. Obviously, he scored and had 2 bonus points and didn't even come in. And that wasn't even, sorry, I'm going to keep going because that wasn't even the end of my forward saga. I ended up dropping Jay Rodriguez, who ended up scoring the penalty, and I think he had 3 bonus points. But on the flip side, I picked up Chris Wood and Danny Ings, who both played more than 60 minutes. So I don't think I've ever had two forwards play over 60 minutes in my starting lineup. So they got me a combined 4 points, but it was enough for the win. So at least I'm not kicking myself for not starting Isak. That will never happen again.
Never again. Honestly, probably yeah, with Callum Wilson's injuries and stuff.
And sorry, Cam, before you get going, we actually had a special guest just call in, and I think he's really excited to talk about what happened in his game week last week.
Now, I don't know how Cam did this week, but I'm going to say that in our league, Noah, I'm sorry, I'm not in the big boy league, but I was the high scorer for last week.
Oh,
61 points, Cam. So before you even get into it, I don't know if you can top that. It's such an
nope.
outstanding week. Basically, I drafted, I picked up on waivers my old boy, and I think your old boy as well, Cam, Luke Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
He was coming back, training with the first team, brought him in right away, threw him into my starting lineup. 6 points, clean sheet, baby. I also had Pau Torres on the back line. I don't know if you still have him, but
Nope.
he scored a beautiful goal and got some bonus points, I believe. Nope, not bonus points, but he played the full 90. 8 points from him. Also picked up my old boy, Michael Olise, who came into the starting lineup. Could have had a couple of goals, had 3 bonus points, and a 10-point outing. And of course, João Pedro, 2 goals.
What's what's
13
Elise
goals.
what's Elise doing on the waivers in that league? Come on, guys.
Oh, you guys, I cannot believe someone did not pick
All
him.
right.
Well, he was out for so long that I just wanted to make sure I got him as soon as he got in there. So
Yeah, my dad was telling me he showed me I think 3 of his pickups and they were very aggressive in my mind, but I can't even speak because Elise and Shaw both performed.
yeah.
I didn't think they were going to come back that soon. So
No,
it's on
Yeah.
me.
The
I was
third
unsure
wave-
about
oh,
Shaw
yeah.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
I saw him train. I saw notes about him training with the first team. And I said, if he's training with the first team, he's getting in there right away. I mean, he was solid back there until he got hurt. So
This guy and his plugs.
now this is my last point, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Cam. But my other most aggressive free agent pickup, and I know it was likely premature, but you know what? Depending on who he signs with on January 20th, I picked up Ivan Toney from Brentford. I know I'm gonna have to sit with him until January 20th, but I thought if he ends up on Arsenal or Liverpool for the second half of the season, I think that's tremendous. I don't know what happened in your league. Has someone been holding him since the draft?
Yeah.
Okay. He was released in our league, and so I jumped on that, even though it was premature, but I didn't want to lose a chance at him, considering how thin the forward.
Yeah. Who are the other forwards that you have again?
I have João Pedro and Nicholas Jackson.
Oh, nice.
So
right.
not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
It's Ivan Toney.
Oh, Ivan. Yvonne.
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 Well, I did not top 61 points. I only had 40. Kudus was a quarter of my points. Been pretty happy with him as a pickup. And then Salah, Ferguson, and Morris all had 5. That pretty much rounds out my top scores there.
Damn, and you still got the win, huh?
Yeah.
He's not excited about that.
Yeah.
But Cam is in first place.
On goal difference. Yeah. So we are very stretched at the top. There's 8 points between first and second and third, and then there's 7 points between third and 10th in our league. So
all right. Yeah, when someone called out that stat the other day,
that's straight from Opta.
Yeah, I was about
Thanks,
to say
Jackson.
that is a sabermetric if I've ever heard one. That doesn't even make sense. And just for additional context, we have 12 people in our league. So again, that metric doesn't really, tell you much, but I'll give it to you, Cam.
All right, thanks. All right, so Noah is going to run through how the European leagues went for the 4 teams that we've seen so far in the Champions League. There are still Conference League and Europa League games tomorrow to keep an eye on in case people either start or they hopefully don't get injured.
Yeah, and there was a wrench thrown into that yesterday because, I don't know, it didn't really go as I expected, at least to start off. So we'll just go through the 4 EPL teams. City played RB Leipzig, and they started off within the first 30 minutes down 2-0. Yeah, and then City came back and won 3-2. Holland scored off a Foden assist, then Foden scored a
Guardiola assist.
Guardiola assist.
Didn't count for me though.
Then Julian Alvarez scored with a Foden assist. And also Jack Grealish started. He got subbed off, didn't do much, but that's something to keep an eye out. Rico Lewis also started in the midfield with Bernardo, and then Rodri was behind him, and then Ortega started in goal. Then the back line was somewhat typical: Walker, Kanji, Diaz, and Guardiola. So that was City's outing, and then Newcastle played PSG. Isak, of course, scored again with an Almiron assist. And then in the 98th minute, somehow PSG was paying the refs and they were able to get a penalty off the most ridiculous handball call I've ever seen. There was nothing. Who was it? I think it was Livermento could have done.
Yep.
His hands were by his side, and I don't know. I mean, we won't get into it because you know how heated we can get, or maybe how heated I can get.
Let me jump in there for a second. I know how much you criticize the VAR and saying how crappy it is, but I was reading something in the last couple of days which indicated that because of VAR, with its faults, which there definitely are faults, but because of VAR, there is a significant decrease of diving because they're getting called out. These players who would have just flopped on any for any reason, and now that the VAR is reviewing those and giving them cards or reversing, calls, that has dropped down significantly. So yes, there are downsides to VAR, but there are definitely benefits to it as well.
So you can see that one of us is sponsored by FIFA, but
just want the games to move along, man. Just have them move. That's all.
That's actually very interesting, and I like that. So I guess we'll let it go and give it another year.
It's all a trade-off, man. It's all a trade-off.
That's fair. All right, and now into earlier today. Arsenal crushed Lens 6-0. Havertz scored the first goal, then Jesus, then Saka, then Martinelli, then Odegaard, and then Jorginho scored a penalty in the 86th minute. And 5 of those goals came in the first half. Also, really cool that all 6 goals were scored by different players. The only player who was on the score sheet twice was Tomiyasu. I'm just kidding. He wasn't the only one. Tomiyasu had 2 assists. Saka had an assist and a goal, and Jesus had an assist and a goal. Yep, there you go. And then Manchester United played Galatasaray.
You sound defeated right now.
It was that. I mean, I watched it today, and it was. I don't even know what to say. Garnacho and Bruno scored within the first 20 minutes. So they're up 2-0. Then Hakim Ziyech scored kind of a wild free kick. Onana just had his ankles broken. He went to Ziyech, hit it to the side of the wall, and Onana just didn't see it. I don't know what happened there. Then in the second half, Mkhitaryan scored to make it 3-1. And then Ziyech scored again. And then Galatasaray tied it up in the 71st minute. Ziyech assist, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the guy who scored.
Now, when I was watching the game very briefly this afternoon, is that Wilfred Zaha, Galatasaray? Oh,
yeah,
that's the Zaha. Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Galatasaray is kind of a fun team.
Yeah.
And Dombele, Martins, Ziyech. Yeah.
Guys.
No,
nice.
they're definitely fun. And Man U should have scored at the end. They had so many chances, but credit to Galatasaray for holding it. So I think Man U does not control their faith. Moving on, I don't know. There's something. We'll get into that next. Oh yeah, they are in last place.
Yep, they're playing Bayern.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting next round. But all right, that's everything for Champions League.
Yep. All right. So because there are going to be 2 games before our next episode, we're just going to go team by team alphabetical and talk about their next 2 fixtures and players that we would be eyeing from each team. I want to put a disclaimer out there that I would, take lineups into account from the weekend because there are some teams that'll play again on Tuesday. There will probably be some rotation in teams that we're not used to seeing rotate. So I would keep an eye on that. I'd also obviously keep an eye on any players that potentially get injured over the weekend, but hopefully there aren't any big injuries. So jumping in, we're going to start with Arsenal, who have Wolves and Luton. I don't think you could really ask for 2 better fixtures for them in the next 2. No, I feel like, and Dean, I feel like there's not that much to say about the Arsenal players. You basically just start them whenever you can and if you have them. I will say though, Ramsdale this weekend was a joy to watch.
Mm-hmm. He didn't play today either, which I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess was interesting, but we'll see what happens there. I think Arsenal have the best matchups, or some of the best matchups for the next 2 game weeks. And I don't think we have to talk much about these, but the only thing to note is that Ben White did sub in for Tomiyasu today at halftime. So it'll be interesting to see who's starting in the back line. But I would think Arteta would rotate them.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna.
So,
I'm pretty confident that they're gonna swap in
Yeah.
either of the 2 games.
One note on the Wolves. I don't know if you noticed last week's game that Chen Huang had a PK.
Yep.
He's not the striker necessarily, but he doesn't typically take the PKs, right? But
I think
fortunately,
who else
I
would?
have him. Cunha, he scored his second goal, but
I don't know. I'd give it to Wang every time, but
I would too, which is good because I have him on my team, so I'm very excited.
I mean, we don't really need to talk about their game against Luton. I do think though they did start a pretty interesting lineup with Trossard, Jesus Saka, and Martinelli. I mean, I think we're going to see a little bit more rotation out of those players, especially with Havertz has 2 goals in 2 games, which I didn't think anyone would really think they would see.
Well, 3 games technically if you're talking about the international break.
Yeah, because he's a left back.
As left back, he scored. So that's
yeah.
All
right. Let's move on to Villa. So they play Bournemouth and then City. I think it's pretty obvious which game we'll be targeting from them. I do think that Kamara is suspended for this game against Bournemouth, and he's pretty vital to the way that they play. I'm interested to see how that affects their lineup. But again, I'm going to be starting all of their players if I have them against Bournemouth.
And I think Jacob Ramsey is back too. Not that he'd necessarily be a starter, but he's a player to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, I imagine he would play like the same role as McGinn on the other side, potentially.
Yep.
I guess the main question is then, against City, are you playing any Villa players?
I'd probably play attackers, but would not start defenders if I have the option.
I'm still starting Pau Torres. Yeah, he's my starter. I'm not giving out, even though it's fancy. You never know.
So let me walk through. So Watkins, I think that's an obvious yes from both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Diaby.
Yep.
What about McGinn?
Yeah,
I'd start him too. Yeah.
Okay, and then the last one I'll ask is Douglas Luiz.
Is he taking the PK still? I'd still start him. Yeah, I think you start them because Man City, they're fantastic, and it's still probably the best team in the Premier League. But you can score on them though. They don't have a lot of clean sheets, and so if you have decent attackers like Villa does, and they're hot, and I would start all 4 of those guys.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things, and we don't have to get into this topic because it's not fancy, but like I think that's one of the things that the extended extra time is doing is that there's just less clean sheets for pretty much every defender across the board. Okay. The next team then is Bournemouth. They have Villa and then Crystal Palace. I don't know how interested this group is in Bournemouth players, but I will note, and we talk about this guy, you know who I'm going to say, Noah. We talk about this guy probably once every 10 games. I think you already said it.
Tavernier.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. I'd pick him up.
I'm just depends on who you drop though. I mean, he's definitely worth it if you have someone who's mediocre, just middle tier. Obviously, if you have a Diaby or a decent, really good midfielder.
For some reason, it feels like he scores in every game that he's like healthy.
Well, that's the question.
I agree.
It's great. I mean, I like him. I think, he adds a lot to Bournemouth. They have a decent matchup, maybe not against Villa, but Palace. So he's on my radar. My midfielders, I'm honestly just kind of too attached to them at this point, but
yeah. So do you feel comfortable answering this question? The 2 most informed players that we have that are available are Tavernier and Willian. So who out of those 2, who would you rather have?
Wow, that's actually
Who does Fulham play in the next 2 matches? I forgot.
Liverpool, Forest, and then West Ham is the third.
Yeah.
I might go Tavernier, honestly.
Yeah.
I like Tavernier more. I'm more excited about him, but Willian is on penalties,
Yep.
which is huge. I mean, Fulham drew 2 penalties.
But those are the first 2
Yeah.
penalties that Fulham has had all season.
This is
and
why
he
it
got
took
them
me
both.
so long. Yeah, this is why it took me so long to drop Andreas, and I'm glad that I did, because he didn't
Yeah.
end up taking their penalties.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I dropped Willian early on because, it wasn't, I don't even know where I was going with that. I was trying to make a
Well,
joke. Didn't
Willian
work.
looked good at the end of last season, and it just Fulham was terrible this year without Mitrovic. It's
Yeah.
just
Well,
they
he's
didn't
getting
seem the
older
same.
too, but
Oh, for sure.
no, I mean, no knock there. 2 goals, so.
Yep. All right. I think that's enough Bournemouth. We have Brentford next, Luton, and then Brighton. I mean, again, targeting Luton whenever I can. I think Brentford players are probably going to be decently available in a lot of leagues. Ben Mee is back. And Ayer, I feel like, is probably the one other big one. I do think Nathan Collins is injured now.
I think he's out. They have a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
Collins, Henry, Hickey, Sade, and of course Tony. Well,
Yeah.
he's injured, that's suspended.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Ayer will probably start in the back, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
with Pinnock and Mee. And then the left back, I believe, is usually not Janelt. No, Janelt is who I'm thinking of, but he's listed as a midfielder.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think Mee, Pinnock, and Ayer, when you can get them, is probably good because they have Luton, Brighton, and then Sheffield United. So can't really get much better than that.
Yeah, and Brighton's defense, I mean, they finally won last week, but they let up 2 goals to Forest. So I think, Brentford have a great schedule coming up.
I read this weird stat about Brentford. They've won their last home Premier League games against promoted clubs. So if they keep that streak going against Luton, that would be 6 in a row against promoted clubs. Yeah, just a weird stat I read.
Yeah. So, and then for Brighton, probably not starting them. They're away. I would probably stay away, but keep them for the Sheffield game and beyond.
Brentford.
Right.
Wait.
Dunk has a red card too, so he's out.
Oh, Igor then. I've been holding on to Igor because I'm honestly not even excited about any other defenders right now. But I don't know. I don't love. Oh, did we move on to Brighton yet? I don't even know.
No, we were talking Brentford, but Brighton's next, so we can move on.
That was my fault. I'm old. I forgot. The VR thing. I didn't get.
No, I got confused because Brighton's the next team we're talking about.
They are.
Sorry, I jumped ahead. That's my fault.
No, you're all right. I think we can go to Brighton now, though, since we're already there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I tell you Dunk has a red?
So Brighton. They're playing Chelsea.
And then Brentford.
Brentford. And then Burnley. So I don't know. A few weeks ago, I would say they have a pretty favorable schedule as well, but Chelsea has kind of turned the corner in my eyes.
Yeah.
Kim laughs every time I say that. I'm being serious.
Yeah, but James got a red. You saw that. So he's out again, but not for injury this time. And Cucurella had his 5th yellow, so he's out as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they lost a couple of their defenders.
Well, speaking of out, the I don't know if you've read up on any recent news, Noah, but Ansu Fati is now red flagged with an unknown return date. And so is Estupinian. So I'm a little bit apprehensive. Well, we were already apprehensive, I think, about their defenders, given the fact that I don't think they've kept a clean sheet. I might be wrong.
No, you're right.
But I do think it's very much like if you have their attackers now, you hold them. I mean, I'm starting them against Chelsea and Brentford and Burnley. But the defenders, I'm probably staying away for the foreseeable future until everybody gets back.
It's kind of crazy how much of an impact Estupinian has made. I'm going to need our fact checker over here to double check this for me, but I don't think they've kept a clean sheet since Estupinian's been injured.
I don't think they kept one with him either.
With him? Oh, sheesh.
Yeah. They don't have a single...
They're not about defense. They're not about defense. Brighton's about scoring goals, man.
Says the guy.
They're in
with,
8th place, and there's I have João Pedro, man. All he does is score goals when he gets in there.
Yeah, okay. But to go back to your Fati comment, honestly, that's the best thing that could have happened because I have been every week just going back and forth debating on whether I should keep him or not. He's scoring in Europa. He'll come in off I don't know if he may have started one game. I think it was last week. And of course he came off within the first 20 minutes. So this is a weight off my shoulders. I'm very relieved to finally drop.
All right, so maybe the Willian and Tavernier comment got you thinking a little early then.
Well, yeah, I actually just realized, I guess it kind of clicked in my head that Fati's red flag, so I haven't even gone there yet, but
yeah.
I will be doing something.
If you had Pascal Gross, you're in good shape because he had 2 assists last week.
Yeah. Side note, I love watching him play for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good player.
I don't think I like him because he's listed as a midfielder, but he plays defender. So.
Yeah, he plays everywhere. I think that's why I like him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
All right. Anything else on Brighton, or can we move on to Burnley? Very exciting team. Yeah. So I think Burnley have the least amount of players rostered in our league at an astounding 2. They play Sheffield United and then Wolves. I guess the real question is, do you trust their players against Sheffield United? This is the battle of the 2 worst teams in the league, I believe. So riveting stuff. Would you take a chance on their defenders or no?
No. Hold on. This is gonna be funny. Can either of you name a Burnley defender right now?
I believe I only know this name because I played normal FPL and he was really cheap at the beginning, but Bayer is the only one that I know, and I don't even know if he starts anymore.
Yeah, I actually targeted him in the preseason. Didn't know how. I thought Burnley, after they crushed it in the championship, and they have what's the dude who's the manager? He's great. I love him.
Vincent
Company, yeah. And so I was excited, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to maybe draft this guy Bayer." And
yeah.
They've lost right now. They have 7 consecutive home losses. And last weekend it looked like they were going to finally win, and they were up 1-0 into the end, and they dropped 2 goals at the last minute.
Yeah, actually, Charlie Taylor probably was a better answer there. He's been a Burnley guy.
Yeah, he did well on their farewell run 2 years ago. I think he scored a decent amount of points.
Yeah. Well, as you could tell by the way our conversation went, none of us are considering Burnley players, I don't think, even against Sheffield United. Okay. Chelsea have Brighton and then Man U, so pretty tough. I think I honestly think that Brighton and Chelsea are pretty similar right now. Like, I am starting their attackers in most fixtures, but not touching their defenders.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
Yeah. I actually was looking at, I didn't put in a waiver for him, but I was looking at Gusto because I think I like watching him. He's fun. He makes an impact.
And Kugure is out this week.
Yeah. So, I mean, Gusto would definitely start, but the issue that I had is, with Chelsea's fixtures. I mean, they are playing Man U, but I can confidently say that game is always a battle, and it's low scoring though. So I'd consider, I'm going to take a look at Gusto. I mean, I don't Brighton than Man U, so not the greatest, but I'll keep an eye on him there.
Yeah. I had him earlier for a number of weeks, and he was very productive, but then, obviously stopped playing in the Premier League, but he has an opportunity now with both outside backs out for the next week. But the matchups aren't great.
Yeah. Yeah, and another one of those teams, like, we didn't really mention this with Brighton, but gonna probably rotate heavy across the weekend and then into the midweek. So if you see an opportunity to pick somebody up, I feel like those are the 2 teams that we've already talked about where there might be a chance to get an attacker that might start randomly. Okay, Crystal Palace have West Ham and then Bournemouth. These are the last of their two good fixtures. This is why I had Joel Ward, who did actually get an assist, like one of those
Yeah.
really dumb assists where he just like passes it to someone, and Olise did a ridiculous
Did
thing.
everything. Yeah.
Magic,
Yeah.
baby, magic.
Yeah.
It was magic.
I mean, it was an unbelievable goal.
It was gorgeous.
And then Olise almost scored in like the 90th minute.
oh right,
He hit the crossbar, went right over.
Yeah.
could have equalized. And Eze is injured again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The big news out of their last game, Eze orange flagged. I am a little bit so for this West Ham game, I'm a little bit worried about this game because I have starting defenders on both teams.
Mhm.
What are your guys' opinions on that?
Okay, so West Ham won't get too deep into it, but Bowen's out for a while.
Mhm.
I think I'll have to double check that.
I think he's still out. Yeah.
But I mean, they proved it last week. Well, I guess they proved it against Burnley, but they were able to score. I think Kudos looks good.
Great.
We won't get into it. Danny Ings playing again, but I would lean towards dropping your Palace defenders. And I don't like either of them, to be honest. I'm just going to say that. I would not like to have Palace or West Ham defenders.
Yeah, I think my main thing is that these Palace players play Bournemouth, and then they do have a tough fixture in Liverpool and City. Actually, this is what I said. Yeah, Bournemouth is the last good fixture for them, so I feel like I want to keep them for that. But I agree, I will be dropping them after this West Ham game and hoping that they get something from this one.
Well, Cam, I'm sure that if you drop a Palace defender, he'll still be there. If you want to pick him up before the next game week, I don't think you have to worry about
I don't know. Somebody will
They're
poach him.
solid, but they're not flashy.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Let's move on. We've got Everton next. We have Forest and then Newcastle. I feel like the biggest news out of Everton's last game was Garnacho's bicycle kick.
Yeah.
That was unreal.
Insane.
So I guess the main question is like they have Forest, Newcastle, and then Chelsea, and then Burnley, Spurs, City. So terrible run of fixtures other than pretty much Burnley. So the main question is, would you start them against this Forest team or not? They're playing away.
Yeah, Forest is really strong at home, and so that's going to be a tough matchup for them, I think.
Yeah, they're hot too. I'm just gonna say right now. I'll let you guys talk, but I'm just passing on Everton.
Yeah,
I don't need to talk about them. I have no interest.
you know they're appealing the 10-point ban tomorrow. Friday. I guess they're going before whatever board it is, and to appeal that 10-point deduction.
Good.
Yeah,
They should, because that's ridiculous.
absolutely.
I won't do that again.
All right. Well, since Noah insisted, we're moving on. That was actually all I had for them. We have Fulham. They have Liverpool and then Forest midweek. The only thing I have is what we already talked about. Willian on the penalties, I think, makes him their best asset, and I probably wouldn't recommend anybody else from their team apart from when they play a Sheffield or a Burnley. And then Andreas is worse because he's not on the penalties.
You know that Anthony Robinson had 2 assists last week in his last 2 games. I'm sorry, not last week. And Iwobi scored his first goal.
Oh, yes. Actually, Iwobi. I think, yeah, he hasn't been playing too much, but I saw he was starting, and I actually did watch most of this game for some reason.
I watched the full thing. Yeah, it was good. It was a good game.
It was exciting. And
Absolutely.
okay, I'll correct myself. Iwobi has been playing at least, yeah, he's been playing pretty much the full 90 for the past 4 game weeks. Hasn't done anything until
That was his first goal.
yeah, his first goal. But I think he looks good. I think he's a great player. I think he was playing in like the center defensive mid, which was interesting, but he looked good. He was attacking. I would honestly probably would not consider him unless you're absolutely desperate.
Well, you know that Allison is out for at least this weekend, but possibly 2 weeks. And so you need a goalkeeper, that dude. Who's the backup? Adrian? Just for this matchup. They're at
I
home.
don't know if Adrian is there. Is Adrian their back? Adrian their backup?
I thought I read Adrian was the next in line there, but I could be wrong.
Might be.
Let me
Well,
go
let's
with-
see. Let's see their lineup tomorrow. And speaking of,
Ooh,
you
Right.
guys keep doing this. Liverpool is the next team. So they play Fulham and then Sheffield, which is great. So if he's out
Yep.
for 2 weeks, yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna go. I think Kelleher might be their backup.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Okay.
Keller.
We'll see, won't we?
Oh, interesting. This guy knows something.
No, I don't know. I just threw it out there.
Oh, wait, they're both there, but I don't know who.
Yeah. So I think keep an eye on their Europe fixture. And then they do have Fulham, Sheffield, and then Crystal Palace. So pretty good fixtures. Another one of those teams. They have so many attacking options that I expect rotation from them midweek, other than probably Salah. So like Darwin and Gakpo can switch, Diaz and Jota can switch, obviously, although
Jota's out.
Jota's out. I just
Yeah.
remembered. So
Yeah.
Luis
So
Diaz.
Diaz definitely play. Diaz,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I have not been following Liverpool as closely as I usually do, probably because I don't have players in either of these leagues, which is interesting. But
I have
I
Samakis now.
think
He's the only one I have, Samakis. But who knows when he plays?
who's been starting at striker? Has it been Darwin like consistently, or is Gakpo kind of getting in there now?
No, it was
Um,
Jota. Wasn't it Jota? And then Darwin subs in for sure.
Yeah. So Darwin started the last 4, I believe. Gakpo was starting at the beginning of the year, and then I think you guys remember like that crazy comeback they had against Newcastle where he came off the bench and scored twice.
Yeah.
Right.
So since then he's been playing more. The one player that I find very interesting from them is Matip, actually. He's
Yeah.
started their last 2, and I don't think Konate's been injured. And he's
Yep.
such a weird player because I feel like he's always just like ready to start a game and then he takes over the starting job.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. That's exactly it. I was gonna ignore that, but since you brought it up, yeah, no, I have a waiver in for him, but I'm not gonna tell you guys which league I have it in for. So,
All right. All right. Next team is Luton. They have Brentford and then Arsenal. Do we need to talk about these guys or?
Nah. I mean, wait. Luton did.
They won.
They did. They
won.
finally won. And you know that interesting note that they've scored 8 of their last 12 goals after the 75th minute in the game. So they wait till the end and then they somehow get this burst of energy and are able to score. So.
Yeah, that last goal they scored was really nice, actually.
Yeah.
I think Ogbene played it in, and he's pretty dangerous. I think they actually have 4 forwards rostered in our league.
That is insane. Probably the most out of any
Morris.
team.
It's because they're chucking them in at random positions now.
FPL. God, I'm not even gonna say anything. But yeah, I don't have much. I don't think there's enough. There are enough players out there where I don't think picking up a Luton player is worth it.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
all.
Okay. Next up, switching gears, we have City. They have Spurs and Villa in their next 2, and then Luton the game week after that. I'm very interested to see that game. Is there anyone from City that's catching your eye? I feel like we never really talk about them all that much because they have players, then they rotate them a lot, but I feel like they've been a little bit more set in their lineups this year.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I think the craziest thing last game week when City played Liverpool, Doku didn't score or assist, and he got 3 bonus points.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, yeah, but like I don't think I've ever seen that, which is crazy. He had 5 points.
Yeah, in a game with goals. Yeah.
That's just overall fantastic play, but not necessarily the results.
I mean, he must be the best player in the league. That's what it's telling you. That might
be a slight overstatement.
Yeah.
No. He obviously had a good game despite not getting the final numbers.
All right. What if we do this? Both of you. Okay. Cam, you go first. Rank in your opinion, the most valuable City players attackers. Actually, no. All players besides Holland.
So I'll go Alvarez.
Number 1.
I'll go Foden.
Foden,
right.
number 1.
I was
Okay.
gonna okay, Doku then.
Doku.
Doku,
Okay, yeah.
for
Each of
sure.
you draft 3 players.
Okay, I have
I'll
2.
take all 3 of those. Doku, Foden,
No.
and
You have to
Alvarez.
pick. So Cam got the first. You get Foden. Now who?
Okay.
You got to go next.
Did someone take Alvarez?
Yeah.
I'm blanking.
I'm gonna go with Rodri.
Rodri over your own Bernardo.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with Bernardo instead of Rodri. I forgot. Honestly, I was having too much fun with this game that I forgot what we were doing. Okay,
Yeah.
so City still have a ton of players.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I mean, no one's gonna be available. Maybe Rico Lewis, probably not worth it, except for he did start at center attacking mid in Champions League. I don't know. I think that's all I have.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I wanted to point out is I feel like Grealish is in contention for the worst draft pick already.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. I wish I could understand what's going on behind closed doors, because when Grealish first joined City, he didn't really play, which you kind of expected. He was getting in the swing of things. Then he played and started pretty much every game.
Yep.
Now he's back to not doing that. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. We can move on to United. They have Newcastle and Chelsea, I believe. First off, we already talked about him. Luke Shaw is back. Or Dean already picked him up. I'm speaking to Noah, who has 2 United defenders. How do you feel about their defense now that Shaw's back? Are you a little bit more happy to have both of them?
All right, wait a minute. Do I have 2 Man U defenders?
Oh, you don't anymore. I haven't been watching your team. All right, does that make you more excited for Onana only then?
Luke Shaw being back is great. Didn't do much today. But last week was great. He had a clean sheet, so very happy he's back. Varane is also back, but I don't think he's played yet. I actually am not certain about today. I'm going to double check that. But yeah, I don't have any defenders. I just have Onana. I did put in a waiver for Lindelof, though. I think he's probably one of the more solidified starters. Like right now, I'm not really sure what to do with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. Dalot's been playing great. He subbed in today and almost scored. And Wan-Bissaka didn't look that great. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Sorry, long-winded answer. But I think it'll probably be Varane, Shaw, Lindelof, and Dalot.
All right. I don't know. I feel like Varane and Ten Hag don't like each other. So that's the one thing holding them back now from that lineup.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ten Hag really loves Slabhead, so I don't know. Honestly, I'm happy for Harry Maguire as long as he, keeps playing well. He deserves it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for them? I mean, Martial, Højlund is back, started in the Champions League. So even though he scored against Everton, I wouldn't really recommend him all that much. And then the man of the moment, Garnacho. What are your thoughts on him?
So I will say something about him because my dad just walked out of the room. He's available in our other league, and I'm definitely going to pick him up.
All right.
I think Ten Hag loves him. And honestly, at the outside wing, I think he's the best option right now. So I'm going to back him.
Yeah, I agree. All
He's
right.
also
Good.
the second highest selling jersey in Europe.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of wild, actually. Okay, let's move on. We have Newcastle next. They have United and then Everton. So good fixture against Everton. I'm starting Pope against Man U too. I mean, I guess this is a question I have for you. I have Pope against Man U, as I just said, and then Pickford against Forest. I'm honestly leaning Pope because Everton are that bad.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I have Pickford in my other league, but don't have another goalie because I had Turner. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely with you. I would start Nick Pope for sure.
Yeah. All right. Other than that, Livramento started against PSG. He started their last game because Hall didn't start. I imagine that they're going to be one of those that rotate. And due to Newcastle's injuries, I'm actually a little bit worried about their ability to rotate now. So I think your Isak is probably safe.
Well, yeah, I think defense wise, you're right, but
Yeah.
they just got back Longstaff,
Ooh.
and I mean, and that center mid maybe push Joe Ellington up,
Yeah.
and then Lewis Hall is back, I believe, so maybe Livermento could go up as well. But yeah, no, Isak definitely is not going to come out of my starting lineup ever again because Kalen Wilson is still injured.
Yep.
Almiron is looking great. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else I have to add there. Lascelles, definitely the best waiver pickup of the year.
Mm.
Yeah, who'd you say the other day you thought yours was?
I said Kudus.
He's up there, but I think Ward Prowse still number one, Lascelles number two, and then I'll give you Kudus.
All right. All right. All right. We can move on. This is actually the team I'm most excited about, which is just due purely to the next three fixtures that they have, but it is Nottingham Forest. They have Everton, Fulham, and then Wolves. If you had asked me before, like which defender would I pick up from their team, I probably would have said Willy Bolly because I thought he was a consistent starter in their team, and it appears that he is not. He hasn't started their last three games.
And apparently neither is Aurier.
Yeah, and Arya is not either. So it's Ola Aina to follow on the other side, getting his games in before he gets banned for all the gambling he did. And then you have Niakate and Murillo. So I think those are the four you could go after. I'm most excited about their game against Fulham because it's at home, or against Everton because it's at home. And then Fulham, you know that we're not a big fan of them either. Are you sharing my excitement for this team or no?
I mean, yeah, I went back to my old ways and I have two Forest players.
Mm.
So I'm very excited. Chris Wood will be staying on my squad and he'll be starting alongside Gibbs White for me. And they both will be scoring a ton of goals. The next three, maybe even 6 game weeks. Well, they play Spurs game week 17, but then they play Bournemouth. So yeah, Forest's lineup is or their fixtures are looking very favorable. Let me ask you this, Cam. Who is the number one scorer FPL wise on Forest right now?
It's not. Is it Gibbs White?
No.
Oh God, who is it?
You want to take another guess?
It's not. I'm assuming you're not asking me this because it's not Iwani. Is it a Langa?
It's Alanga.
No way.
He had okay, so he has 46 points, and Gibbs White has 45. Iwani has 42.
That's wild.
And then Bowley is right after them with 35. Then Chris Wood right behind him there, 31, which actually is kind of crazy that Chris Wood has 31 points.
Yeah, that is. So as we said, targeting their defenders, or I am at least, and then Alanga, Gibbs White, Wood probably next after that.
Yeah, and Alanga might be available in a lot of leagues, not in ours, but
yeah,
I think he would be a great target the next potentially 6 game weeks.
Yeah. All right. We have 4 teams left: Sheffield United, Burnley, and Liverpool. No, I'm not. Just no, I'm not. I don't even want to go over them.
Well, I think you're forgetting something that happened last weekend.
What was it?
You don't remember who scored for Sheffield?
I actually do not.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
McBurney.
McBurney. Yep, I
He's
texted you.
back, baby.
He's
He
back.
is back. I'm not going to pick him up.
All
There's
right, that's enough.
actually, there's honestly too many forwards right now.
Too many forwards. I never thought I would hear you say that.
I know it's kind of crazy, but we've actually talked about. I'm not going to name specifics because they're a hot commodity, but there have been like 4 or 5 forwards that we've talked about this episode that are available.
Hmm.
All right, that might be an exaggeration. There's 2, 3, or 4 forwards that we talked about that might be available. But that's all.
All right. McBurney, he's out there. Okay. We have Spurs. They have City, West Ham, and Newcastle. We saw them. Son scored a hat trick of offside goals, ended up losing to Villa. Again, another one of these teams. I know they were in first before, but they're like Brighton and Chelsea, where their backline is so beat up now that I'm a little bit worried about them. They started 4 wing backs in this last game. When they get healthier, I think they'll be back, but Van de Ven will still be out, so I'm a little bit worried. Did you take a look at their lineup from last week and all the new players that were in?
No, but I'm doing that right now.
So Lo Celso started. I'll help you. Bentancur started. I think he got injured again,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
saw that.
And then Brian Heel started. I'm not. Yeah. See, I'm not worried about Heel. I don't think I'd really target him as soon as their injuries are sorted out. I mean, I don't even think he'll start this next game, but if he does, I guess keep an eye on him. I just want to see 2 starts for him.
Well, do you know who was looking very good for Spurs?
Who?
Brian Gill.
Oh, you did say you liked him a lot, huh?
He was yeah, he was getting involved. I'm trying to think back to this game because I did watch it, but it was that early 9 a.m. one, so I don't think I'm remembering everything exactly. I remember seeing Lo Celso's goal, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, Gill played 70 minutes. I don't think he would be a consistent starter, but I'm gonna keep him on the back burner radar in my head.
All right. You
Yeah.
can go ahead.
Okay. We'll see. But yeah, Emerson Royale started at center back.
Yep,
That's
with
funny.
Ben Davies. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. West Ham, they play Crystal Palace and then Tottenham. Like we talked about, definitely starting my Emerson against Crystal Palace. Different Emerson than Emerson Morale. Do you trust their attackers with Bowen out though, and Antonio?
I do. I was nervous. I don't think Antonio really has anything to do with this, to be honest.
Fair.
I mean, I guess I'm only saying that because they ended up coming back, scoring 2 goals, but it was against Burnley, right?
Yep.
And then in the last minute, so probably will impact them a little bit. I don't know. Ward Prowse, I think he assisted or scored last week or did neither of those, but I don't think he'll be impacted as much. Yeah, I don't think it really affects him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's it. but Kudus is looking good, as you said. Let's see if he holds on to that number
Yep.
3 waiver pickup of the year. I think Danny Ings, he's still got that striker mentality. I think he'll be scoring a few. And who am I forgetting? Suchek is always good for a few. And then Paqueta, I still think is, a great player. So, sorry, I just completely blanked.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I know I said I mean, I'm probably not starting Emerson against Spurs, but I think we mentioned on the last podcast that they do have good fixtures after that. They have Palace and then Spurs, and then next weekend they have Fulham, and then Wolves the weekend after that. And then it gets a little tougher. Man U, Arsenal, Brighton, and then back to Sheffield and Bournemouth. So probably going to drop them once they play Wolves on December 17th. But I think West Ham players are a hold if you have the capacity to keep them.
Yeah, except for the defenders. I know we disagree there, but
No, I'm not a big fan of Emerson.
I don't know. I just have never really trusted West Ham defenders.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, speaking of, we didn't touch on it, but I know really quickly before we go to Wolves. Do you remember our top 10 predictions from the beginning of the year?
Teams or
Top
players?
10 players in each position.
Oh,
Do you
no.
remember who you made fun of me for putting in my top 10?
No, I don't remember. I'm sure you're about to tell me.
It was Pedro Porro. Do you want to know where he's ranked right now in terms of defenders?
What is he, like number 2?
He's number 8. So
Oh.
not as high, but he's still up there.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit, I think after like the first game, I knew I was wrong. I because I did pick him up. I either draft no, I think I picked him up in my other league, and
Mhm.
yeah, he's been one of my most consistent players. So yeah, I know I said that, but did are you sure? I thought it was the other way around.
No, I had him in my top 10. I'm not letting you forget this.
God, yeah, I think you're right. I don't know why I was so against him. Do you remember what I was saying?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Huh. All right. Well, yeah. No, he's good.
Okay. So last team we have Wolves. They have Arsenal, Burnley, and then Forest. Obvious. I have Ait Nori.
Mm,
Injured himself in the game.
yeah, saw
So
that.
yeah, probably gonna drop him. Doherty came in.
No, you
Um,
should keep him. He's your
okay,
boy.
but they do have Burnley and then Forest after Arsenal. So do you think they're worth keeping or no? I guess it depends on each person's team, but I do like them against Bournemouth and Forest at home.
Yeah, I'm actually definitely a lot higher on Wolves. They're just sneaky. I mean, they beat Spurs. I can see them maybe upsetting Arsenal, but Arsenal really have to just have a horrible game.
Yeah.
But crazier things have happened. So defenders, I don't know. I think I considered picking up a Wolves defender one time this year. Didn't even get them. I
Hmm.
don't know who would have gotten him over me, but I don't think it would have worked out anyways. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to stay away from the defenders. I think they're better matchups out there.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to add today?
Nope, I think we're good. That was a long,
Yep.
content-filled episode.
All right. That's gonna do it for this episode of the No Early GG's FPL Draft Podcast. Thanks everyone for listening.
All right, I'm not too happy to tell everyone about this game, but I just want to emphasize how serious we are about what we preach. So I am going to quickly tell everyone about this game back in 2014. Manchester United versus Leicester. I think Leicester may have just recently been promoted. I was waiting for Cam to correct me if he knew, but
It
does that
sounds
ring?
around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this was actually one of Vardy's first games. Maybe I think his first game, if not one of his first. Man U was leading 3-1 at the King Power Stadium, and they ended up losing to Leicester 5-3.
Mm.
So don't be Manchester United, everyone. Don't think the game's over yet. They did it again today. Please, no early GGs.
You're listening to No Early GGs.